Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Yep. Morning to you. There. I coughed. Let's hope that's getting it out of my system. Welcome to the program. God. I heard from one of you email saying that I scared the hell out of her with what I talked about yesterday about artificial intelligence. And I'm sorry. There is so much to be scared of right now that, I think if you're not feeling frightened for many reasons, then you're obviously brain dead. It just is what is. And no amount of wishing it away is going to be helpful. It just is, right? How are you? How can we not be afraid when, today's headline is front page New York Times. Kennedy wants to let bird flu spread. You can't make it up. This is the guy, now our nation's top health official, and the headline is Kennedy wants to let bird flu spread. God help us. Now, the article, of course, quotes a number of experts. I don't think it quotes anybody agreeing. Well, oh, no. Yes. Oh, sorry. There is somebody that agrees. And that is the Agriculture Secretary, one Brooke Rollins. Unbelievable. Let it spread. Now, it is spreading. The danger, of course, as all the scientists will tell you, is that when a virus like this is spreading, which it is, and moving from animal to animal, different species to different species, the risk of it mutating grows and grows and grows. Guys, we just went through COVID. Well, I don't mean to put that in the past. And if we haven't learned a little bit about how viruses can, in fact, mutate, again, apparently we're brain dead. So there is a genuine concern among those who follow this kind of thing that the bird flu could mutate, spread to humans, and if it does, we're in another COVID situation, perhaps worse. In terms of the spread, I read just, I think last week, that two pet domestic cats in New York City have died from bird flu. Right there, that's of concern. These are not cats living on a farm where the birds have it, the cows have it, whatever. These are two pet cats in New York City, and they're dead. And it is a sign of the increased spread of this virus, which has obviously already decimated millions of chickens, God knows how many wild birds, cattle are sickened, dozens of people have contracted it. So nationwide, it's known that more than 100 domestic cats are known to have been infected. And one of the, sounds like a bizarre metaphor talking about this, but the canary in the coal mine for a farmer as to whether or not his cattle have it is that one of his outdoor cats is found dead on the dairy farm. So dead cats on dairy farms have often been the canary in the coal mine that the virus has spread into that farm's cattle herds. So, scientists will tell you that the more widely it circulates among mammals, the more likely it is to ignite a pandemic among humans. And recently, more and more experts are saying that they are concerned that domestic cats could be the major avenue for the evolution of the virus mutating so that it can spread more easily among humans. Just saying. All of this is fact, everything I have said to you, and it is a fact, however extraordinary it may seem, that on the front page of today's New York Times, it says Kennedy wants to let bird flu spread. You can't make it up. So, remember how Donald Trump said that when he was president, he was going to end this pesky war in Ukraine on day one? Well, I guess not. Like so much of what he says, bull. But now he's actively trying to get at least a ceasefire. And as we know, he has already berated in a most unseemly fashion the president of the nation involved in the war that was, in fact, attacked. That'd be Ukraine. And yesterday, he spoke to the president of the nation that was the aggressor, Russia. He spoke to Vladimir Putin, a man who clearly Donald Trump admires. And they spoke apparently for 2 hours. There is no ceasefire, just to get that out of the way. And something that hasn't been widely reported is that Putin, there was obviously a scheduled time for this phone call. We were all aware it was happening yesterday. And Putin, at the time that the phone call was supposed to commence, Putin was doing some event. He was on stage at an event with a bunch of people in the audience. And at some point, somebody actually said, I know that you have to have this very important phone call with the President of the United States, and perhaps you need to go do that. We understand. And Putin waved the guy off. And everybody laughed. Now, somebody who happened to be at the event, a guy named Brett Bruin, who is president of a group called a PR group called the Global Situation Room, he wrote that making leaders wait is one of Putin's go-to power plays. And this one, doing it to Trump, trying to show Trump who the alpha is here. And did you hear Trump say was he enraged as he would have been if anyone else had done this? My God, look at the rage he exhibited toward Zelensky. For what? I still don't understand. Not apologizing to him for having been invaded, not saying thank you enough when that's all he does is go around the world saying thank you to people. But Putin, in front of an audience, actively dissing Trump before the call. Just wanted you to know that in case you didn't know it. Okay, let's just look at some of the carnage from the last maybe 24 hours, okay? Just in case, because I know a lot of you are at the point where you just can't. So I've been following stuff, and Trump has, well, almost everything he's been doing is unconstitutional. Now, it takes some time for that to get its way through the federal court system to the Supreme Court, and that's where we all have to hold our breath because, as you know, that court, many on the court, are beholden to him. It has a conservative majority. But most of what he's doing is unconstitutional. And federal judge after federal judge is saying that. You can't do that. It's unconstitutional. I'm temporarily putting a hold on it. And the things that are temporarily on hold, keep growing in number. And of course, in each instance, Trump will appeal to a higher court, and then that will appeal to a higher court as he loses round after round after round, because what he is doing is blatantly unconstitutional. Something that's not getting a lot of attention is that there are a number of agencies that are in place to protect us as citizens, us as consumers, us as workers, whatever. Those he's really going after. Often they are governed by a board of commissioners that are generally split between Democratic appointees and Republican appointees. And obviously, when the Republicans are in power, I think most of these places have 5-member boards. You know, it's 3-2 Republican or whatever. So that is what it was yesterday at the Federal Trade Commission. There were 2 Democrats on that 5-member board. Guess what? He fired the 2 Democrats. So now there are just 3 commissioners at the FTC. They are all Republican appointees, and they can't do anything anyway, because in order to do business, you have got to have more, I guess, than three. The two Democratic commissioners, by the way, the FTC exists to protect us from rampaging corporate malfeasance. They go after, they're there for, they go after trusts. This is who goes after monopolies, the FTC. They also engage in a lot of consumer protection activities. So Trump goes off and fires the two Democrats, Rebecca Slaughter and Alvaro Bedoya. And I find it interesting what one of the commissioners wrote after he was fired, Bedoya. The president just illegally fired me. The FTC is an independent agency founded 111 years ago to fight fraudsters and monopolists. Our staff is unafraid of the Martin Shkreli's and Jeff Bezos's of the world. We take them to court and we win. And now the president wants the FTC to be a lapdog for his golfing buddies. Together with the chair, Lena Khan, and Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter, I spent, oh, that's right, he already fired Khan, excuse me, she was the chair. So there are only two commissioners left, and there's no quorum. That explains why they now can do no business, because he had inherited the commission that had 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans. He's now gotten rid of all of the Democrats. He said, this one he just fired, I spent my time at the FTC fighting for small town grocers and pharmacists, and for people in Indian country going hungry because food was too expensive. I fought for workers getting screwed on pay and benefits and overtime. I fought for their right to organize. I fought tech companies who think they can track you and your kids every hour of every day so they can pick your pockets for their next billion. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or someone who's so disgusted with Washington you can barely watch the news, the FTC has worked for you. Who will Trump's FTC work for? Billionaires or you? It was an honor to serve my country at the FTC. It was an honor to work alongside the staff. And to everyone who is watching all of this unfold, fight back. That from just one person who's lost his position because of Trump illegally firing him. Now, understand that what happens when presidents in the past, as this guy tells us, the FTC has been around for 111 years. Trump is not the first president to think he can fire one of the commissioners. In fact, the first president who tried to fire a commissioner from the FTC was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, because when he came into the White House and wanted to get a lot done, he looked at the current makeup of the FTC, which had been, appointed during Republican administrations, and he realized that this commission was not going to let him get a lot of his work done. And so Roosevelt fired one of the commissioners. And that, of course, ended up before the Supreme Court. And the court found that the Constitution had never given the president illimitable power of removal. In other words, sorry, President Roosevelt, you do not have the power to fire one of these commissioners. And that ruling has stood until now. And so we'll see if the current Supreme Court, which is supposed to be made up of these traditionalists, will agree with the court almost 100 years ago, which said that a president did not have the power to fire an FTC commissioner. It's precedent. Now, he's done the same with a lot of other commissions, and by doing so, has made them incapable of functioning. I know he's done it at the National Labor Relations Board, which again cannot function. All of these entities are creations of another branch of government, Congress. And you don't have to be a constitutional scholar to have just sort of a gut feeling that what this president is doing with all of these independent agencies is blatantly unconstitutional, which is why we're seeing over and over and over again these various judges saying exactly that. I didn't knock myself off, did I? Because my screen is not showing my, oh Jesus H. Oh God in heaven. You can't even tell me if I'm still on because I can't see your screen, my screen. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, now I'm okay. I'm okay. I think. I'm okay. I'm just an old lady I think I'm okay. Let me know, guys. Can you, I don't know if you can let me know, come to think of it. Wait a minute. Yeah, because I'm not seeing the chat. Oh, shit. I have a, God damn it. How do I know if I'm still there? Yes. Wait, I got it for a second. Wait, can somebody on chat let me know if you're hearing me? Because if I don't hear from you. Oh, thank you. I just got it. Okay, I got it up. Woo, woo, woo. Old lady flummoxed by technology. Shit. Okay, yeah, I got it. That's from Kevin. Kevin, I'm okay. I don't know what the hell I did. All my screens went. Okay, so back to what Trump's been up to. It's mind blowing, and this shipping these people off to El Salvador and reveling in dehumanizing them and in treating them like dogs. Actually, all the dogs I know are treated better than most people. But you get my drift. And then going after the judge who said, I don't think you can do that. Appears to me to be unconstitutional. You get those planes to turn around. And of course, they didn't. And then Trump, as you know, went after the judge. And then, incredibly, the chief judge, the chief justice, John Roberts, went after Trump. Didn't mention his name, but did say, hey, we got this system here, and if you don't like what the judge has determined, you have recourse. You appeal his ruling. You do not threaten him or try to impeach him. Never mind, they're going to try to impeach him. Some Republican idiot has already put a bill in Congress, a bill of impeachment of Judge Jeb Boasberg for being a judge who is properly doing his job. You know, we're going to get to know some of these judges, some of these poor souls. Again, public servants, like so many of the federal workers who are now in unemployment lines. And this guy, Boasberg, is one impressive dude when you look at his bio. I mean, it's impressive. Yale law degree. He's got a graduate degree from Oxford in history. He's been appointed to various federal positions, judgeships, by Republicans like George W. Bush and Democrats like Obama, and in fact appointed by the current Chief Justice, a Republican, John Roberts, to positions. Everybody thinks highly of this guy who Trump and his knuckle-dragging cohort are calling a terrorist sympathizer, a hack, an idiot, deranged. He even lived, when he was at Yale, with Brett effin' Kavanaugh. He was a prosecutor, a homicide prosecutor. He went after murderers and never lost a case. He served on FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. He was appointed chief judge of, get this, the U.S. Alien Terrorist Removal Court. So when it comes to the removal of alien terrorists, this guy has credentials way over anything that Donald Trump has. And now he's going to have a target on his back. God almighty. All right. Just saying. By the way, journalists doing their job have been finding out the identity of some of these people who were stuck on those flights and sent off to a foreign jail where they have been treated like dogs, shackled, kneeling in front of their jailers, heads shaved. And we're finding out who some of these people are. And guess what? Some of them just got swept up, happened to be in a building that Trump's goons had targeted, went in. They are people who are not necessarily in any gang, let alone a terrorist gang. We're just starting to find out who some of these poor souls are. Do you think Trump and his jackbooted thugs are using any more finesse with this kind of an operation than they have with the wholesale firing of entire buildings full of federal workers who then they realize they need, and they reverse, and they're brought back, and then others get fired and they find out, oops, these are the guys who take care of the nuclear stuff? To think that any of these operations, which are clearly meant to keep his knuckle dragging base in thrall, the fact that they put out that video complete with music of these people caught up and sent off to El Salvador. And the United States is paying millions and millions of dollars to the dictator in El Salvador to keep these people who have not been charged with any crime nor had a day in court, which is their due. Pah. Another group Trump axed yesterday was a group that is actively working to gather evidence of Ukrainian children having been abducted by Russia in their invasion. There are some who believe that that number is as high as 35,000 Ukrainian children who are now somewhere in Russia, perhaps they've been doled out to Russian couples and will be raised as Russians. International kidnapping. And there was a specific group under the State Department to gather this evidence so that Putin could be held responsible at some point. And astonishingly, that agency, poof, is gone. And not just it's gone, but the trove of damning information that they had already compiled, including satellite imagery, biometric data, identities, and locations, in as much as they have been able to determine of some of the children, it's gone. Okay, that's another thing they've done. And this, I think I mentioned this yesterday, that they also went after something called the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund. Obviously, these are smaller agencies, but when you look at what their missions are, they're good agencies. This one supports more than 1,400 small banks in the country, in rural areas, in urban areas. And it's a program that has injected lots of money through grants into these small banks so that they can then take the money and lend it to people in these underserved communities. A lot of them are farmers. And anyone who understands anything about farming knows that farmers always need loans. They're constantly in debt. And if there's just a few small banks around, the odds are that a lot of American farmers in these obviously rural areas have been getting money through this agency, the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund. Trump's targeted it yesterday. And guess what? Of the roughly almost 6,000 headquarters and branches of the lenders who get money from this group, 60% of them are in Republican congressional districts. 55% of them are in states that have 2 Republican senators. And you see, the fact that he's harming the constituents of his own party, the fact that he's harming his own voters is, I don't know, it leaves you with your mouth hanging open. Like, do they not think at some point that at least a few million of these folks might be able to shake off whatever sickness has infected them and regain their ability to put 2 and 2 together and understand why they're suffering and or struggling and or things that used to be there to help them have all of a sudden disappeared? But it's because Trump told them he was going to get rid of all the waste in Washington. I guess no one bothered to ask him, what exactly is your definition of waste? Fact is, and these numbers came out the other day, in February, the month that's just gone by, and it's the first full month of Trump's presidency in which Doge has been active, okay? That's the first month, and it's the shortest month. And right, the whole idea is they were going to save money by throwing all these people out of work. The February numbers show that spending in February of 2025 was $40 billion more than it was in February of 2024 when Joe Biden was president. They have spent 40 billion more than was spent last year's in February. That is a 7% increase. Then there's the horror of the transsexuals. And as we know, the Fox weekend anchor / Secretary of Defense has said that all the transgender people in uniform in our country's military have got to get out. They're out. They're gone. That's it. Well, guess what? A judge has said, wait a minute. That looks and smells sure as hell unconstitutional. It really looks like it totally violates our Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. And so, here's another preliminary injunction. You can't do it, the administration's been told. You cannot remove these soldiers and sailors. The executive order that Donald Trump wrote that referred to being transgender as inconsistent with the humility and selflessness required of a service member appears to be unconstitutional. The judge went on to say that such pronouncements about transgender troops are not honorable, they are not truthful, and they are pure conjecture. She went on to say this: plaintiffs, those are the transgender troops that brought this particular case, plaintiffs face a violation of their constitutional rights, which constitutes irreparable harm. Indeed, the judge goes on, the cruel irony is that thousands of transgender service members have sacrificed, some risking their lives, to ensure for others the very equal protection that has been denied them. Another judge has said the evisceration of USAID appears to be, guess what, unconstitutional. It violates the Constitution, says another judge, because the agency was created by Congress, and only Congress can do away with it. So much winning. So much winning. Caller, go ahead.
Good morning, Lynn. Rich here.
Hi.
I'm going to surprise you today with a serious call.
Okay.
And as a word person, I bring you the word abrogate.
Abrogate. Good word.
Mm-hmm. Abrogate, to annul, to cancel, to abolish. The Trump people, you see them all, they're already setting the stages that they are not going to abide by judges' rulings.
Yeah.
They're setting the stage. You've seen the minions come out and they said, Trump got votes. Judges don't get votes. Trump got a mandate. Judges don't get mandates. And how does any court, including the Supreme Court, how do they implement a ruling?
There you go.
They have no enforcement squad. Who's going to walk up to the White House gate, knock on the door, and say, "Mr. President, you're under arrest for anything"?
Well, for contempt, for contempt,
for contempt of
for refusal.
Court.
Yeah, for refusal to obey an order of the courts. I mean, you or I would be in jail.
Absolutely. Now, what's to stop them from saying, well, you know what, Supreme Court member, you're not in here for life anymore. You're out. Right. Who stops them?
Well, I have to tell, wait. He said yesterday, I believe he said, Trump, that he would follow. He said he would follow these judicial rulings.
Until they get too many and keep piling up.
Right. I mean,
what he wants to do.
Yeah, because it's hard to believe anything, obviously, that he says. So I agree with you that he is gearing up to flout the law.
Yeah. Now, the next guy to go is going to be Jerome Powell, because Trump wants interest rates at zero, and that's not going to happen with Powell. He'll just stand his ground, but Trump will say eventually hit the bricks.
Well, but see,
everything.
It's illegal. It's all illegal.
It's all illegal, but who cares? It's only illegal if it can be enforced. And impeachment is off the table. That ship has sailed. Forget that.
Of course.
The only thing left is the military. To me, they're the last lifeboat. If Trump puts the military into action to do whatever he wants, unless the military stands by their oath to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, it's sunk. It's gone. Democracy in America is DOA.
And he has already gone after highest ups in the military, including the Joint Chiefs, who he worried perhaps would thwart.
So you got to wonder, will American troops turn on American citizens? Well, anyway, with that happy thought, here's Trump. I could figure out everything Trump has done so far except for one thing: Canada.
Yeah.
I have thought about this thing, and I said I'm going to look at it from a different angle because I love mathematics, numbers. So I looked at it as purely numbers thing.
Yeah.
Here's some stuff I dug up that's kind of interesting. If you take Canada and the United States and put them together, they become the largest nation in the world.
By land,
Russia in total land acreage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, Trump, as the real estate king of all time, I don't think he could resist controlling the biggest piece of land on earth. And I think that's why he wants to go for Canada and also Greenland. Two, Trump worships gold, and Canada has a lot of it. Their reserves are 2,300 metric tons. Now, if Canada comes to the United States, the gold comes with it and goes into our reserves, and that would increase the reserves in the United States by more than 25%. It would be over 10,000 tons of gold in the United States. And Trump thinks about gold. I mean, he just worships it. He'll sit in a room all day and look at it.
Yeah.
Now, the third reason why he wants Canada, he gets an instant infusion of 35 million white people. And they are instantly assimilated into our culture. They know the language, they know the economics. And you have a very, very small minority population in Canada. There's like 5 million people that are made up mostly of Southeast Asians, blacks, and Chinese. And here's the kicker. The vast majority of white people in Canada have a high school education or less. That's the ideal Trump supporter. And Trump is putting a squeeze on Canada, and he thinks he can force a referendum where the people will vote to join the United States.
Well, I think that's delusional.
I know, of course it's delusional, but that's Trump. You got to think like Trump to understand Trump. And the poorest people of Canada are Latin Americans and blacks. You notice he never says the 51st state should be D.C. or Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, or Guam or Samoa, because they all have one thing in common: brown and black skin.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I
So
think you've figured this out very astutely.
But like I say, you got to think like Trump to know where he's going.
Yeah.
But the one thing, this is really as weird as it gets. What's the end game for Trump?
What?
I think it's the greatest heist in history to get the gold in the United States. Get it out secretly, get it out little by little, and not to Russia. Trump knows Putin would kill him in a minute and take all his wealth. Trump wants to go to Saudi Arabia, where they worship gold just as much as he does. And I'll bet you donuts to dollars, the gold in Fort Knox, there's some gold there. There's a lot of gold also in the Federal Reserve Bank in New York City. But the vast majority of the gold in this country, not Fort Knox. It's in secret mountain hiding places underground in Colorado, Utah, Nevada, and New Mexico, because it makes no sense to have the gold in Fort Knox. It's a wide open target for a nuclear attack. And if you hit a nuclear attack on Fort Knox, that gold becomes contaminated with uranium, and it's worthless, and you ruin the national economy. So I think many, many years ago, when Russia finally developed atomic weapons, the Fort Knox gold went west under mountains for safekeeping. I believe it because nobody's would you take your valuables, put them in a box and put them on your front lawn and say, with an arrow and say, here it is, here it is, here it is. That makes no sense.
God almighty. All right. Now, it's my job to depress people.
Well, hey, this is what you get when you get serious.
Thank you, though.
Maybe you might not wish what you get. So, okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Got another caller here. Hello.
Hello?
Yes. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, how you doing?
Fine.
Hey, why is, I want to ask, why is impeachment off the table? I know now, but in the future, I don't understand that part. Because, I mean, there is midterms. I mean, it's a ways off. But here's what I'm wondering. What does a Supreme Court judge, get by having Trump be able to control everything? What does a congressman, after a while, that Trump controls everything, all the laws, anything they say they want to do, he doesn't want done. He says, no, we're not going to do it that way. Don't you think there's going to be eventually here coming the pressure, straw that breaks the camel's back, which kind of like Nixon, took a while, but eventually it's going to turn. It's going to turn. I really believe it will. It's just taking some time. Even Republicans eventually will say, we can't do this anymore because my job might be gone. My family might be screwed. There's going to be a point where it's going to happen, but when, I don't know. And I don't believe impeachment is off the table. That can be done down the road. But I think something's going to happen here eventually. Here's a sign with Roberts doing what he did yesterday. That's just the beginning of it. I do think it's going to eventually happen. Because what does anybody gain by a guy that's a dictator? Why would you want that? Would they want to move to another country that has, North Korea as their president? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. There's got to be a point where they say, this is enough. He's gone too far.
Well,
it's going to happen.
yeah,
It
well,
has to.
let's hope you're
Or-
right. Yeah, see, you're thinking like I understand what you're saying, but we're
Right.
living in a period in which a frightening number of your countrymen and women are I don't know what to say. They're not thinking clearly, and you've got a party in the Republican Party that is absolutely populated with either white nationalist fascists or cowards. They're scared. They're terrified of this guy and I think that fear will continue because the more he acts, the video like he did of how those people on those planes were treated once they landed in El Salvador, that's intended to show how brutal anyone will be treated. It'll just keep piling up, and I don't know. I hope, obviously, I hope you're right, but I'm watching.
Another thing
I'm
is,
watching and
it could
seeing
be
the lack of backbone.
for now.
Well, for now, what? People grow backbones? I don't think
And
so.
not only
I think
that,
the
isn't
capitulation
Trump
is
cause?
telling you that they're
Isn't he
never going to stand up.
is there going to be a point where the people can't take him anymore? Where you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That happened in the past. That
All right.
would happen.
All
I
right.
don't want
Well,
to say it, but you know what I mean.
I hope
by
you're
that.
right. I listen,
Right?
whatever, but I don't see it. I really don't. I hope you're right. God knows.
Well,
I would never like
I mean,
more to be
are we going to
proven
be in a
wrong.
civil? Yeah.
I know.
No.
I can see where we could be heading toward a civil war.
That or you know what, Kennedy? Okay, I'm not going to go. I don't want to say it out loud.
Yeah,
too much.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Nice talking to you.
Nice talking
Bye.
to you too. Bye-bye. Who the hell knows? None of us would have chosen to live through this. And in reality, it's just beginning. I mean, just by virtue of the calendar, it is just beginning. I saw one thing yesterday which warmed my heart. Maybe you saw it. It went viral. It was a video taken of a committee hearing in the state capital of Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin, where a bill has been introduced. One of these, anti-transgender bills. And the committee in which this bill ended up held a public hearing. And it was, an anti-trans bill. I'm not aware of exactly what specifically it was referring to, whether it was referring to treatment of juveniles or whether it was referring to sports or whatever the hell. It was anti-trans. And a ton of people showed up to speak. Some of them in official capacities, some in activist groups, and some just regular, ordinary Wisconsin citizens who felt strongly. One of the people who showed up was this really old man. I don't know his name, I don't know anything, but I saw his testimony. He showed up, and there were so many people that there was an overflow room, which he ended up in, sitting with other people who were going to be heard. And let me just say this, what went viral is when he finally got out of the room and ended up sitting in front of the committee. And he tells them, I came here in support of this bill. I was wrong. And then he tells of how he had spent the last hour or so in this overflow room where he was sitting with a few trans people, other people, all kinds of people, pro and con, and all of them were talking. And he was incredibly listening. And it's very short. It is not eloquent. But this old man says, I came here because I was mistaken about these people. And he speaks against the bill when he had come to speak for it by virtue of spending a little bit of time with the people that the bill will most impact and finding out that they were people, liking a lot of them, understanding for the first time the decisions they had made or their lives. This old coot. And it almost brought me to tears because this is the kind of thing we see so rarely. That kind of about face, that kind of the fact that somebody wants to speak, actually take the time to speak against something and to end up on the other side. I wish more people had whatever this old guy has, the capacity to change. So, anyway, there's that. I want to thank you all for being here with me. Sorry about that, freaking out when I couldn't figure out if I was on or not. But that's par for the course on this program. I'll be back tomorrow, as far as I know. I fully intend to be, and I sure as hell hope you will be too. Okay? Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.